Hey guys, what's good? I'm back, and in this video we are going to be doing AWS S3 enumeration basics. So just like the previous video, it's not going to be that difficult of a lab, very basic type of lab. And obviously I'm going to try to expand on it, try to add some more information to it, so it's just going to be more than the guide that was given. And on top of that, like some people, they don't like reading this whole thing, and that's not their way or preferable way of learning, and they rather just watch a YouTube video instead. And yeah, this is pretty much for them. But obviously, you could reinforce your knowledge by reading all of this as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's read the scenario. It's your first day on the red team, and you have been tasked with examining a website that was found in a phished employee's bookmark. Check it out and see where it leads. In scope is the company's infrastructure, including cloud services. So this is the website. We can go ahead and check this out. Going to Firefox. And clicking around, we don't really see any other pages. We have client portal, status tracking, but it's not really going anywhere. This as well, we can submit some data to this. And clicking this really does nothing. So you can click this our service, contact us, nothing, scroll down. And yeah, there's pretty much nothing here. But what we could do now is check the source code. So view page source. And let me see if I can just zoom in here. And the first thing at the top over here, we notice that there is an S3 bucket, and which leads to the static and style.css file. This website is pretty much using this file, which is in this bucket over here, this S3 bucket. Clicking this, it's public, and we can view this by going directly to this file. So let's check if we can see other types of directories or files in this bucket by just going back to this dev.huge.logistics.com, and we see that we get access denied. So it's not really allowing us to view anything here. Let's try going to the static directory, static, and we can just click this here. And again, we get access denied, so it's not really doing anything. This is because of the way that when you're trying to navigate through the S3 buckets, you have to use a bit of parameters that need to be included. When you're looking for a specific file, you don't really have to do that. So in this case over here, style.css file. But when you're navigating through it, you got to use some parameters, and that is not included in the browser, but you can add that through curl. Another thing is the AWS CLI can also include those parameters by default. So if you go AWS, let's check actually over here in my notes. Yep, the AWS CLI includes these by default, which is why listing works there. And we'll list it right now using this command. And these are the parameters that need to be added. But we'll go ahead and just paste this over here. And we see that we are running this no sign request. This makes sure that our request is public. It's not using any credentials or default credentials in this AWS .aws directory, which stores those credentials. And here we have S3 bucket's name, which is this. So going here, we can see that, let's give this a moment. We have a couple of files, admin, migration files, shared, and static. And static was the one that we could have viewed. So, which is probably going to be public. So we can go to static and check what this has. We can see it has a logo, script.js, and the style.css. And another thing we could check is the admin one, as that is looking pretty, it's probably going to have some sensitive information in it. And we get access denied, so we're not really able to access this directory. But we can go ahead and try migration files as well. Migration files. Oops. And the last one to try is shared. So we do find this zip file. We can probably like copy this to our host machine and view that file. So to do that, we can just write over here the name of this file and just go and do copy. And we want it in this directory. So let's just do a dot and we'll get this in this directory. I'm not really trying to be organized, but yeah, it's not really that much. All right, so we are right now over here. It says download this, and if we do ls, we have our zip file. Let's unzip this. And we get this .ps file, and going to this, we should find some credentials in here, and specifically we find this access key and secret key. So we can go ahead and do AWS configure, and we'll call this user, let's see, let's just call this user all right, yeah. Let's just call this user 01. Access key here. And this is the secret key. And again, we know it's a user because it starts with A-K-I-A, Kia, whatever. And just press enter here. And we should be signed in with this user. Get caller identity. And we can do user 01. And we are the user Pam test. So let's go ahead and see if Pam can list any of the buckets. Perhaps there are other buckets and Pam has access to that. And it says unable to locate credentials because I forgot to use profile. User 01. And an error occurred. We don't have permissions to list buckets. Let's go ahead and use the same bucket. And perhaps there's policies applied to it. As we know in the beginning, we had the denied one with admin and we could not access it. So let's see the policies assigned to it. Hopefully we have permissions to view that. So we do get bucket policy and bucket this. And this is kind of just to format it. And again, we got to use profile user 01. Oops, wrong area. And user 01. So we see that we do have access to this as user 01. Well, I believe we should not have access to this. Let me see what changes has happened. So let's do ls and let's do cat credentials. So we have this in here. So give me one moment. I'm going to check Discord. I don't know if Ian changed this lab because Pam user was not supposed to have access to this, but I think he probably changed it right now. Give me one moment. I'm going to pause the video. All right. So basically, Pam was not supposed to have access to it, but now she does. And I kind of like the idea that this Pam user or Pam test has access to it. It's just a better way of explaining what is going on and what is happening. So, um, I mean, he removed this and then he probably put it again because he probably thought, hey, we should give this user access. And yeah, so here we do have access to this policy and we can view it and see what is going on here. One of the things to note about getting a bucket policy is that by default, nobody is able to get the bucket policy. You can only get this by using permission s3 get bucket policy. So since we do have it on this um, bucket, we can go ahead and see what it shows here. So it says that all principals, everybody, so anonymous, public, read, anybody, public, is able to get objects from this resource, which was the shared one where we found our zip file, the static area, where we found our CSS file, and yeah, and this one, which is publicly available, the index.html. The other thing we have here is list, bucket, root, and share. So we see principals all, S3 list bucket. So all principals, all public principals are allowed to list shared and static. So we can list it and view all the files in this. This is the get object where we can get it. And this is the list where we can view the files inside of it. The next thing we have is allow all except admin. So here we have two types of users, IT admin. We also have PAM test, the one that we are. And the actions we can do is get everything in buckets and list everything in this resource. So this and this. We can view all the, okay, we can basically list any of the bucket or files, whatever, we can list all of it and we can get it as well. But then we notice that there is an explicit deny over here, which means our principal, this specific PAM test user, is not able to go to the admin directory. It's not able to action S3 all in this admin directory. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and demonstrate this. Let's go ahead first of all, and let's use the AWS S3 ls and this, and we can remove no sign request because we're going to use our credentials or user 01. So over here, when we list everything here, we can use user or profile user 01. Let's see if we can list everything in admin. And we can list everything in admin because over here it pretty much allows us the ability to list in everything here, this one specifically. This admin, however, although we have a file here, we cannot get the flag.txt. So if I do flag.txt and do copy, put a dot over here. An error came that when calling head object operation, we are forbidden from doing that. So yeah, the other directory that we can check is migration files, which we didn't have access to before. But now as this user, although as this user, the spam test user, we can get everything in it and list it, and it's not denied in admin directory. So we can go ahead and try to list everything in there. And checking my notes again. All right. And we notice that there is two files, migrate secrets.ps and test export.xml, and these are just two PDFs. So we can go ahead and get both of these. So let's do copy. And we can get the next one. All right, so now that we got both, let's start with migrate secrets. And we do have this user here. I think this is the same one that we are using. Let's use AWS. And we can check this, not this user ID. Let's check credentials over here. Access key ends in HU. And we have over here HU. So it's pretty much the same user. Let's check out test export XML. And here we do have this other user over here. And this is the AWS IT admin. And as we saw in that policy, the IT admin does not have an explicit deny for this admin directory in this bucket. So let's go ahead and do AWS configure profile, and let's just call this admin. We'll take this, paste in there, and this, paste it in there. Let's see, am I forgetting anything else here? Okay, yeah. So this is going to be another good thing to touch upon. So over here, we're going to actually, I'll just explain it here. So over here, we have a condition. In this condition, there's two types of strings that it gives us, delimiter and prefix, which needs to be mentioned. And as we know from this command over here, even though this is all principles, we can't really access this. We can't really list anything. We get access denied because of this. We have to mention the delimiter and prefix. In order to do that, we would just do prefix, and we have a couple of options over here that we can use. We'll just do prefix equals this. And since this is strings, we'll just do that. So prefix equals this. Let's do and add the other parameter. So where is it? Which is delimiter, which has to equal this. And it didn't work because this needs to be empty. We can just do that. And there we go. So we have migration files, we got shared, we got static, and yeah, we got all of this over here now. I should be able to zoom a bit more actually. But yeah, we also have the admin over here and all this. So it's showing up here. And the reason why I'm touching upon this is because now we're going to use curl to get the file now. Instead of using the AWS commands to navigate through it, AWS S3 ls, instead of using this to navigate through, which automatically implements those prefixes, or I wouldn't call it prefixes, I'll just call it parameters. That's the right term. But yeah, instead of using this, let's use curl. So I'm going to go ahead and try to use curl now to navigate it. In the curl request, this is kind of how it's communicating with the API. We have to use this over here, which is US East 1, which is the location of this bucket. And I believe we'll get that from curling. So we can literally just take this and just do curl, well, not really this, but right, put this here. Shouldn't work, but do, and just do I to get the header. And we see over here that it belongs to the region US East 1. And yeah, so that's how we get that. And then we use our user's access key and AWS secret. So in this case, it's going to be this. We're going to go ahead and paste this here, equal to admin, and this secret key is also going to be equal to this. Okay, and we can remove that and just copy this and paste it in here. And yeah, so we have these credentials, user that's going to be accessing. And let's just first start off with listing everything in here first. So let's remove admin and just get all the files first and do it slowly. Document is empty. And probably should clean all this out. There we go. So we got all of this, and now we're interested in this admin prefix, this admin directory, which is going to be the prefix value. So in prefix over here, we'd go ahead and put admin in the dash or the forward slash. And from there, we see that there is admin here, and then the key, another one, which is admin flag.txt. And because this is the exact file, we can cut off all of this and just do admin flag.txt. And I'm going to output this into a file called flag.txt. And we can just check it out. And the flag.txt has hash inside of it. Obviously, I'm not going to cat it or open it. So yeah, that is pretty much it. We know how to use curl now to navigate through this. We know that the bucket policy exists and you need a specific type of permission to access it. The bucket policy for our user is, or for public, was only permitted to some areas in that bucket, and then we found sensitive information, and that same user had permission to access other files, which also had sensitive information, in which we used to get the flag in that same bucket. So yeah, on top of that, we know how to get the region now. Other areas in the commands that we use also showed the region, I believe. And yeah, let's see. The list bucket, we couldn't do that. Let's check the admin user. It does have permission to list the bucket, actually. All right, let's do profile. And let's do admin here. So yeah, the IT admin cannot do it. But yeah, the end of another pointer is that we have to add these prefixes, or not prefixes, I keep saying it. You have to keep adding these parameters to query the S3 bucket when we're using the browser or curl. And the AWS CLI automatically adds those parameters in it. So yeah, that's basically it. Take care, guys, and I'll see you for the next video then.